Hello everyone, welcome to Tiny Gwen Miniatures. My name is Rachel and today I am working in a newly cleaned and refreshed workshop, which is basically a shed in my garden. So space is very important because it's there's not much of it. Today I'm going to show you, I'm going to be working on some paper tulips, so I'm going to be filming that and showing you the process, which is very easy. I've done two already, just a trial run. I didn't want to kind of waste a lot of filming time. So the first one I did with paper and wire, and I used a seed bead inside, and it was too small. It's not really, I think the tulip looks a bit deformed. So the next one I tried with a slightly bigger seed. There's a 5mm, sorry, a seed bead, but it's a 5mm bead inside this one, and that was kind of worked out okay. So I'm going to be making 6 more of these today to go in the pot, which is actually a deodorant cap. So a little bit cheating, but I don't care. It's using stuff from my home, which is always good. It's free. Well, kind of. Paid for the deodorant, obviously, but the cap is would have been thrown away. So good bit of recycling there. I've decoupaged it with just a painted design that I did. I did a few and I chose that one. So I'm going to be filling that with some tea leaf soil. Going to be showing you everything I do. So I'm hoping you'll stick with me, and I'll see you later when I'm finished. So to start with, I need to colour the pattern sheet. I'm going to make this available on the Etsy shop. So this is the tulip flowers and the tulip leaves. So I'm going to colour those in first, and then I'm going to cut them out. So I have my trusty pens in the colours that I need for the tulips. I got some small sharp scissors. I have my wire for the stem. This is about 1.5mm florist wire. It's the thin, excuse me, it's the thin florist wire. I've got an awl, or you can use a kebab stick, something pointy, to make a hole in the centre of the flowers for the wire to go through. I've got some greens here for the leaves. I've got some wire cutters and some little jewellery pliers. They're quite useful for holding things and just bending leaves and different things. There's not quite so much bending in this one because the tulips are fairly straight and the leaves get attached directly to the stem, so we're not fiddling about with putting the wire on the leaves as well, so that helps. Also I have a 5mm bead, so I think these are 5mm, there might be 6mm, but you know, you can trial and error with things to see what works for you, but I found this kind of size is best to go inside the tulip, and you kind of bend the petals around the outside. I will be using my acrylic pens on these beads as well, so that they're the same colour as the petals, in case you can see inside. And I have some tin foil. This is just for placing everything onto dry, so it doesn't start getting stuck to the table and bits of paper and all kinds of things. And I have a cup of tea, which is very important. I have glues. I've got my Gorilla Super Glue and my 3-in-1 beacon glue. I don't know why that's appearing all back to front. I think I must have it on mirror or something for some reason. Anyway, sorry about that. So anyway, this is 3-in-1 beacon glue, which is it's quite a strong glue. It's not as fast drying as the super glue, so you have a bit more leeway to move things around. Also, it doesn't stick your fingers together or stick your fingers to your pliers or whatever else you're using like the super glue does. So I'm always getting stuck to everything, and then it's a bit of a nightmare scrubbing for hours with a scourer trying to get the glue off. So I'm going to start with colouring in. just a simple process. I'm actually going to use 2 different colours for the leaves. I want the markings to show through because I'd like the, I don't know if you can see, I'll show you. I've drawn the veins in the leaves and I'd like them to show through. You're going to be, I haven't done printed colour sheets for these because you're going to need to do 2 sides. So that was going to be more tricky, but it's pretty simple. You can, you know, anybody can just colour these in. So just going to be adding a little bit of light and dark green. You can just do it in one colour if you want to, but and then I'm going to be doing a couple of colours for the, you don't have to stay in the lines because you're going to be cutting it out, so you can be pretty quick with it, but I'm just going to quickly show you. I want kind of, so I've got red with pink in the middle. So I'm going to carry on and colour it all in, and then I shall come back. So that was very quick. I've got 6 different coloured tulips, 12 leaves because I've got 2 leaves on each tulip. Then I just take my sharp tool and with your cutting mat underneath so you don't go through your table. Believe me, I've done that myself. Just go through the centre, each of the tulips. And then I'm going to very carefully cut them out. So got all these cut out, coloured in, got both sides coloured. I have tried to gradiate some of the colours so that they're a little bit more interesting than flat colour, but it doesn't really matter if they're flat colour, they'll still be pretty. I've also coloured in the beads. That was probably the fiddliest part, so that they're matching the, because when you come to fold the petals around the bead, you might just see the bead slightly, so if it's coloured it's not going to matter. The leaves are also painted both sides. Try to cover the white so there's no white patches on there. You can always go over it afterwards when you've made them to hide little bits that you don't want. So I'm going to be doing the wire now. First of all, I cut the wire down to about, I'm going to say about 2 inches, 2.5. Just over, oh, here we go. Here we go with the wire flicking all over the place. Oh my goodness, they're everywhere. I'm going to do this off camera and come back. Right, I've got the wire down. I've retrieved the ones that flicked all over the room. So I've got my tin foil ready so that when the glue's on the thing, I can just stick it on the tin foil and not have to worry about it, especially with the super glue, because this is a messy glue. Okay, first of all we're going to glue the bead on. So a little tiny dab. Try not to get it on your fingers. And then leave that to dry on your tin foil. Do that for all of them. I'll come back and then show you the petals. Right, I've let these dry. It's tempting to be impatient and start before they're dry, but it is really much easier to try and be patient, which isn't my strong point. Anybody that knows me will tell you. So what we're going to be doing now is using a different glue, not the super glue, because we need it to be a little bit longer drying so we can manipulate it slightly. So I'm going to be using the Beacon 3-in-1. I'm going to be adding a bit of that to the bead again, eventually when it comes out. The glue's not coming out now. Okay, I shall come back. Right, I've just stuck a bit of wire in it, so I'm hoping that works. Do other people get these problems when they're filming? Right, so I got a big gloopy bit eventually when it came out, and this is the orange bead, yes. So we just thread very carefully thread the wire through the central hole, which is tricky. Okay, just takes a bit of teasing, and then move the petals up and then pull them up over the bead. Okay, get that glue off there. Okay. As you can see, you can still see some of the bead from the top, so it's best to colour it on the sides. I'm going to do that with all of them, and then we'll put the leaves on. So here they all are with their heads on. So now we add the leaves. Just get the glue off. Hang on. There we go. Still not quite dry. So leaves. These you don't want them from the bottom of the stems, because this is the bit that's going to go in the soil. So leave yourself a bit of room for planting the thing. Where's my pot? So I'm going to be having that in there. So I've got this one pre-done. I might have to cut it down a bit, but just give yourself a little bit to go in the soil. So add a little bit of glue. Around your stem. And then have a longer leaf and a shorter leaf. So two on each. I want the stripy, veiny part on the outside. It's a little bit fiddly. Just have it so that the pointy part of the leaf is on. So you're just gluing the very bottom part of the leaf onto the stem, and then put that on your tin foil. Leave that to dry. You might need to add a little bit more later, but just let that dry first. And I'm going to do this for each one. Here they all are now drying on my tin foil. So while they're drying, I'm going to get on with the pot. So I'm going to take a little bit of this. I'm just going to steal some of this tin foil, rip a piece off without ruining the tulips now. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit to the bottom. Just to fill it up a little bit, so I'm going to use quite so much soil, and the soil is going to be the same as we did for the window boxes. So I have my soil jar, my tea leaves, which are just from old tea bags, dried thoroughly. We've got too much there. It's difficult to gauge. And then added to those, so these are basically, it's a used tea bag, but with no milk added, so just the tea, you know, if you use a teapot, which I know is quite old-fashioned, but I like to use a teapot. So it's just the tea bags from the teapot, and then I dry them thoroughly out over a few days. And then I have, I mean, it looks like soil already. It's such a good idea. Not my idea, but it's a good idea. This is PVA, so just your bog standard. This is just bog standard builder's PVA glue. Nothing fancy pants. I'm going to give it a stir around. If I can actually find something to stir it with, I'm going to use one of these wire sticks. And it's quite satisfying. It's just a lovely gloopy mess. You can imagine what kind of child I was, because yeah, this is, some people would be horrified by this this mess, but I actually find it most pleasing. Actually, I'm going to need these wires because I will show you. I could use this. Anyway, I digress. So I'm just going to use my fingers, because that's the kind of girl I am. Going in the pot. So really just as if you were filling in an actual garden pot. Now, because I want to be able to make this pot changeable, so I can change the display, I am going to, I'm not sure if it's going to work, I've not tried it yet, but I am going to just make holes in the soil that I can put the plants in and then take them out again. So I don't need them too big that they're wobbly, but not too small that I can't get them in. So I think that's the tricky part. Let's try to, right, I've got loads of soil left over. I could use that for something else. Right, I'm just going to wash my hands off. Now I'm going to make 7 holes for my 7 tulips. So I'm going to have one in the middle. I'm going right down to the tin foil. And then I'm going to have 6 around the edge. So I'm going to just give those a wiggle, because I want this to dry, but I want it to dry with the holes nice and clean. But I don't want them too big that the tulips are going to fall over. So okay, let's see how this goes. I'm going to leave this to dry now. Right, so I didn't want to waste the excess soil that I'd made, so I very quickly dashed around my house trying to find something else to use, and I found an old lid from a foundation makeup bottle, which I managed to fill up with the soil. So I'm going to be using this for something else at some point, and I've made a hole in the middle so I can stick something in even when it's dry. Okay, so the actual tulip pot, it's not quite dry yet, but I am going to be just testing out the size of the tulips. I want the leaves to be coming up from the soil surface, so I need to cut them down. There we go, probably about half a centimetre. I think should do it. want to be a little bit different. So I'll try and get these the same. So I'll just be trimming these off. And then hopefully in about an hour, I should think, this will be completely dry. It's nice and warm in this workshop, so should dry fairly quickly, and then we shall put the tulips in. Maybe Tiny Gwen can do that herself. I'll just show you, I'm just quickly, anywhere where there's a little bit of glue showing, I'm just going over with my paint pens, just to stop any kind of shiny gluey nonsense that we don't need. Also, do the same with the green, but just make sure your glue's properly dry before you do this. But you just need to be just bending out your leaves slightly so they're not straight up, so we don't want them flat to the stem. At least I don't. I'm just bending those out a little bit. All done? One tiny pot of tulips that Gwen has very cleverly potted up for you to see. Next weekend I'm hoping to be going to the Miniatura show in Coventry with my husband Ian, so that'll be a day trip for us, a long day. It's about 2.5 hour drive from here. It's one of the biggest miniature shows in the UK. There'll be lots and lots of different stalls and wonderful artists, and the standard is pretty high. So I should be filming it for you guys that don't get to go there. So fingers crossed that we all goes well and we get there. If my mother's not ill, or somebody's ill, or the car's not broken down, or yeah, I'm hoping it should be fine. So please stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye. One more thing, just wanted to say, in the Etsy shop now I do have the sheets ready, the pattern sheets ready, should you wish to make your own tulips. So just letting you know. Okay, bye again.